All righty. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Friday. We made it. Pumped for this conversation. Before we went live, we were talking about the Masters and about golf. We spared y'all that conversation. But if you want to talk golf, message us afterwards because we have to talk. Ben is the consummate golf guy. So Ben, who are we rooting for the Masters?
It'd be hard not to pull for Scotty. It's a Dallas guy.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Okay.
excited for him. And I know his caddy too, which is cool. Ted Scott's a
Humble
Lafayette
brag.
guy, which is
Humble
where I'm
brag.
from in Louisiana. So it's hard not to pull for those two guys out there. But there's a bunch of good players up this weekend.
I love it. I love it. All right. So excited for this live stream. This is the second time I've been live today. I was telling the folks backstage that I have somehow made a career out of doing these things, which is hilarious. So pumped to hang with this group today. Talk about offshoring, nearshoring. A lot of these panels, the way I like to do these panels is kind of what I'm seeing in the market, right? And again, I've been in the talent like engineering space now for 13 years. One of the things that we kind of specialize at Torque is really our nearshore capabilities, even though we do hire all over the globe with the purchase of Ronstad. Kind of our bread and butter has been nearshore. And so I've been introduced to it a little bit more, but I've started to see a lot of posts on LinkedIn about, hey, we're hiring nearshore devs, we're hiring offshore devs. And so it really got me thinking. I was like, all right, who in my network has experience with this? And the three people that responded to my email are here. So thank you for responding to my email.
Wow.
High bar.
So flattered,
Yeah,
Taylor. Thank you.
Yeah. So pumped for this conversation. I want to go around, do some intros real quick. For those who do not know me, my name is Taylor. I head up all the community efforts here at Torque. People ask me what community is. I still don't know how to define it, but basically it's a professional mascot for developers. So that's kind of what I am. I yap online for a living and make sure people, understand how to navigate the job search and help people throughout the job search on our platform. So, Ben, I want to kick it over to you. Quick introductions for you, man.
Yeah, sure. So, hey, I'm Ben. Currently a CEO running my own software consulting business called Pile Cloud Technologies. I've been in the tech space since like the mid to late 90s. Been everything except a quality engineer. So have a lot of passion and respect for QA. And recently before starting my own venture was a CTO at a healthcare company that built a SaaS-based EMR. So happy to be on. I guess this is the fourth time we've chatted on the show. So
yeah. Ben and our friends. So Ben, you can help guide Jeff and Rhea since this is their first shindig with me. So
so happy
Ben
to be back.
Ben and I are friends, and Jeff and Rhea are friends, so the dynamic should be good. Jeff, you want to give a quick overview about yourself, man?
Sure. So currently I'm a CTO at a company called Sierra Interactive. It's a real estate platform. So it's CRM plus kind of branded business websites. Sierra is a operating company under a company called Alpine Software Group. So it's a PE kind of space. Been here for almost 3 years in total. I've been leading eng teams for, I'm old, like 15 plus years. Developer first, a normal cycle. I've done a lot of weird industries. I kind of look back at my history, so maybe that'll come up later. But psyched to be here, and I'll try not to stumble too much, Taylor. Thanks.
Hey, you know what, man? If you stumble, it's okay. I'll say some really bad jokes, and we'll be good to go. Rhea, do you want to go to yourself?
Sure. I'm Maria Delamere. I'm the CTPO here at Traject Data, and I am a PE-owned firm as well. Just like Jeff, we're actually owned by the same PE firm, ASG. Simply put, like our company, Traject Data, feeds the beast. So a lot of AI companies need raw data to train their models, and we specialize in the SEO ranking and e-commerce space. So we have large swaths of data to deal with brand protection, third-party optimization, price monitoring, all of that. So you need data, we have it, and we have it fast and reliable.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, so let's dive in. So I put out a post earlier this week around offshore, nearshore, and I want to just get some general thoughts. I'll direct y'all so y'all don't talk over each other. That's the worst part about live. Everybody starts to interject, and then it's just a disaster. So I feel that there has been a larger push as of late. I think developer salaries in the U.S. I think could be part of this topic as well. But I'm curious in y'all's experience. with managing offshore, onshore teams. Have you seen a recent uptick? If not, I definitely want to hear that too. So Ria, I didn't know if you want to take this first, kind of your general thoughts of what you're seeing just with the nearshore offshore trend.
So the thing is, even before COVID, I was part of 100% remote companies. So when I look at nearshore, offshore, it really doesn't phase me throughout my career. It's because where do you find the talent? And it's all about optimizing what your company does to figure out where the talent is and where you can find them, right? So it's like, I don't even think of teams as offshore and nearshore. It's about the work and what we're trying to like produce.
And I would say, as somebody who's helped hire hundreds of engineering teams, working with individuals like you is amazing, because that's how it should be looked at, which makes our job matching talent a lot easier. Because you should just go find the best person available. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's all about clarity. If you don't have clarity in what you're trying to do, then you might as well just go home. It's like, I have the title of CTPO, but honestly, I should have the title of janitor, because it's all about some dumpster fire and we just need to solve the problem.
You should totally put that on your LinkedIn. I think that would be awesome. Just like for a week, it'd be great. Also, I have to ask, that background's not fake, right? That is your actual.
My backyard.
That is amazing. Nice. I had to ask that because I was like, I'm pretty sure that's real. All right, Jeff, thoughts on offshore, nearshore? Any trends you've been seeing at all?
Sure. At first, I'm always very jealous of Rio's background.
Yeah, I know.
Not
seriously.
fair at all versus this.
Just the white back. Yeah.
So I don't know if I can speak directly to trends. I can say certainly there's a nearshore trend, right? There's been a real growth of sort of LATAM resources available, and obviously Torque plays in that space really effectively. For me, when I came into Sierra, the initiative was large and the cost is prohibitive in terms of just doing fully onshore teams. It wasn't going to work. I inherited a fully offshore team and I've sort of rebalanced it, but I have to be really cost conscious. So nearshore offshore is the only way we can really successfully tackle the problems that are in front of us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ben, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like it's cyclical. It's been like this for, I don't know, 20 years that I've been working either nearshore or offshore, heavy offshore in like the 2000s. And then it kind of like went backwards, and then we brought onshore. Everybody kind of hired up. I do think COVID may have played a touch of a part. Salaries went crazy. I have this like unpopular opinion that I think too many people have gotten into the tech space. I think that we've really, really flooded the onshore tech market. And I think companies are looking for ways to be able to Jeff's point, really watch their margins. And I think that you can find a lot of value and a lot of really, really quality resources in the Latin America space, which has changed the way I think people are thinking about building and staffing teams. I don't think it's an all or nothing, one direction, but I definitely would agree that I think it's been an uptick in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I am curious, how do you guys, and this kind of leads into one of the questions that I sent over. I typically don't do questions live, so this is a challenge for me. I don't like to go too scripted, but I did want you all prepared.
It was odd to see.
Yeah, I know, because like I said, I'm usually just
winging gaming. I don't get this.
That was from me and Ria for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so I am curious, like, I mean, listen, I think the pushback is with engineers or people in the U.S. listening to this, are like, is nearshoring going to take all the jobs? Is offshoring? Because if we're talking salaries here, right? I mean, the salaries are high. I think they've come down a little bit since kind of that rip in 2021, 2022. How do y'all kind of think about positioning your developer teams when it comes to what's on site, what's offshore or nearshore? Because as somebody who's a non-engineering leader, I think this is probably a fascinating topic to try to tackle. So does anybody have any initial thoughts that they want to run with first?
Yeah, I think for me, I look at time zone differences, right? So the type of company that I work with, we have to be up 24/7, right? Because we feed data to make business decisions and all that. And our customers need us to be reliable. So when I look at a nearshore offshore team, I definitely look at what the team is working on, what our projects are, what our stack rank list of priorities in order to balance that. But I do not hold a structured team going, you will only work on payments or you will only work on this API. It's more of a balance of, this is what they this is what their knowledge or their subject matter expertise is. And I ensure, depending on where my customers are migrating for, I will build teams to make sure the span of their availability meets that. But that is for this company.
Sure.
Other company is different, but I definitely do it based on subject matter expertise and what kind of coverage I need across.
So you have a payments team, or whatever, or one part of your business. Do you, from a just like, budgeting planning for the year, do you be like, all right, we need somebody to make sure in U.S. time zone, we need somebody in Europe? Like, is that an active conversation that's happening with your teams to make sure you are covered 24/7?
Absolutely. Like when I build teams, I actually use team topologies. If you guys have never read that book, I use that constantly to essentially look at how do I streamline everything. I am a fail fast leader completely. So it's all about how we can warm hand off everything, how we remove all the bottlenecks and all the noise so that we are just streamlined. And that's why it's easy for me to take a look at those time zones and make sure that the system flows properly and when I can have those dead times.
I love that.
It's like old school theory of constraints. Yep. I love it.
That's great. I'm more of a picture book type of guy, so I will trust y'all. Jeff, thoughts? Jeff, thoughts on how you've structured those teams in the past?
Yeah. So totally agree with Ria. Like time zones are critical. Like what is the collaboration requirements, and then you can sort of build your teams around that and build them as atomically as possible. The other input for me is what is the nature of the work. So if I have a need for sort of starting at zero, architecture, implementing best practices, full pipelines, all of this that I want to be emulated, that's going to be likely onshore. Because I need somebody who's fully invested in the role and in the business, maybe has equity, like that kind of thing. I'm less comfortable offshoring that because that, no matter how good that engineer is, they don't have the same level of investment.
Sure.
So that's what I've tried to do is like the critical, like laying the foundation kind of work is nearshore. And then in terms of offshore, is onshore. In terms of nearshore, offshore, it depends on the nature of the work, it depends on the team. But I think you want to have a balance across time zones and sort of focus areas. But to your larger question, I think it's undeniable that the sort of number of opportunities onshore are reduced. It's just there's no other way to say. Now, the market's changing, right? Like the salaries are going down. It's a tighter market, so maybe that'll shift a little bit back more onshore, right? As it's more cost effective, but I think it's undeniable right now that the shift has happened and there are few opportunities onshore.
Yeah, makes sense. Ben, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the buzz back or the blowback that what always traditionally happens is that we send work offshore and then I don't have control, I don't have visibility, I don't have this. Okay, everybody come back onshore, and now we're gonna go back offshore, right? So I think for me it just depends. I don't fall into the fear camp. I don't believe AI is taking my job. I don't believe that a worker in India or Latin America is taking my job. Right, my job's more than just writing code as a developer. If I'm out there listening, I'm not going to focus on knowing the ins and outs of Python at this point. There's me other things that I'm going to be more aligned to. But when I'm building teams, it just depends. Like if I'm in a group where, like to Jeff's point, I want my knowledge to be augmented perhaps by more capabilities that need to be either time zone based, kind of full flow, or whether it's like, hey, I'm just augmenting this group, but just go build this. Like that may be one type of team, or some cases I may actually staff my entire product right nearshore if I'm a certain type of company that's building something. And I'm like, look, I've got a great nearshore partner. They're going to work almost exclusively as my development shop. And I've seen that work out really well. So I think it often depends on executive team appetite, company direction. Like it's just not a straightforward answer.
Sure.
Right.
It depends. I think that's what software developers say. They say it depends.
That's what architects say. It always depends. Never give an answer off first pass.
So you brought up a really interesting, which segued into my next question. Great, Ben. So I appreciate this. I feel like we're a good team here. We're talking about communication, right? What are some basic processes that you guys have put into place that has worked to make sure all the teams are aligned? Because so in prime example, this is the first time I've had experience with nearshore teams and offshore teams at Torque. There's 2 people I have in South America, 2 people in Europe. I think, we've put some things into place, but I am curious. Like, I feel like one of the biggest things is this communication loop, right? I feel like sometimes I've heard from engineering leaders in my career, it's like, this team over here is doing something, and we're having to bring it back because the communication's not there. So I am curious that does anybody want to lead this off just with any tips or tricks that they've developed to help the communication side of things?
Do we want to keep the same order or go backwards?
I don't know. We can go backwards. Ben, you want to go first?
It's like public skate, Taylor. You gotta switch directions.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sorry.
So I go back to, it depends on what I'm putting together. And again, it's like if I'm in a Latin America team or I'm a Nearshore team, my best experiences with that have been to try to embed those groups as closely as possible by the nature of just where everybody's located. So my best experiences have been where they almost look the same. So if I have people that are working in, let's say, Dallas, who are partnering with groups in Guatemala, they almost look like one team, right?
Yeah.
So they're on the same stand-ups, they're on the same Slack channels, they're on the same cadences. And I think that's a real benefit to Latin America in the sense that like you got this like just consistent stream. But if I've got something that like, hey, I really want to be either 24/7 or perhaps I don't care about 24/7, but I'd like to maybe look at lower cost, which might be found in certain parts of Europe or certain parts of Asia. Then I've always found it important to have at least that baton handoff where there's always overlap, right? Like the worst thing I think you can do is like have people go to bed at 7 p.m. in Asia and people wake up the next day and just cold handoff. Like, here's an email, here's what we did, or here's a Slack message. So having some kind of either rotating stand-ups toward the end of the day so that people can be available or toward the beginning of the day. I think it's really important that I've had human-to-human interaction at those points so that the days can transition with enough to be able to pick up and start working.
I love that. Jeff?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and Ben touched on this, is the overlap. Like establish a window where everybody's available for in real person
Yeah, I've heard that.
communication. Whatever it may be, and that may be prohibitive for like maybe I can't have a team in Vietnam and a team in Brazil. It's just the time zones are too disparate. So you got to construct your teams in a way where it works. And to just reiterate what Rhea mentioned, team topologies, you want to have a team that eventually kind of runs itself. So you set up the artifacts, set up the communication window, set up the structures that allow them to manage that themselves. I found also sometimes you have to enforce that. Like if you find your teams aren't communicating amongst themselves, you got to like, hey guys, what's going on? You got to jump in, say this is how we're going to do this. This is what we're going to review. Identify your tech lead and go from there. But yeah, it starts with that window. It starts with an agreement. This is how we're going to communicate. You have to have that in place.
I love that, Rhea.
So I do all of the things that Ben and Jeff definitely do too. But one of the things that I've learned from having like remote teams and like different time zones is you kind of centralize on a time instead of saying, hey, Pacific time, Eastern time, or whatever. We basically say, hey, this is our company time, right? Let's say it's central time. So we structure on that centralized time, and then knowing all the time zone differences, we'll try to plan all of our meetings or the kind of handoffs to like maximize that overlap time. So we do that. Another thing is any new team we form, if we actually have like a new team member or whatever, that's the time we revisit our ways of working. It's like almost a team agreement of this is how we're going to work. This is how we're going to communicate. This is how we're going to do warm handoffs. So like something as simple as we work on Slack, right? It's like if we have a bug or a swarm, it's like, here is the thing. I'm going to denote it as a swarm channel _ and some sort of thing. It's just getting those like operational, like forward thinking motions in mind, and that way people know what to look for. It becomes muscle memory for them, so it's almost like a cadence. It's a template how to communicate.
I love that. So I want to go to this LinkedIn post that I have. I think this is kind of touches on what we talked about a little bit, but also kind of introduces a new topic. So, and I know this guy, he's a friend of mine. He goes, blah, 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 blah. The level of micromanaging required to make it succeed really negates the cost savings relative to shoring.
Interesting.
Who wants to add some color?
He say offshore or nearshore, either one. Not onshore.
He specifically said to nearshoring is what he said.
So I nearshore specifically, I could possibly entertain the argument on offshore. Like, and again, like I always find these terms so funny because everybody's on a shore somewhere. We're specifically talking about Europe, or we're talking about Asia, right?
If you get anything from this panel, it's everybody's on a shore somewhere.
There you go.
Yes.
Quote me on that one. Like, everybody's on a shore. We're specifically talking Asia and Europe when you're working in North America. I'm assuming from that standpoint. I would entertain that argument.
Yeah.
I don't believe the argument, but I would entertain it. Near shore, I can't even entertain it because of the fact that, like I said, there are so many fantastic nearshore partners that work same time zone, work within Pacific to Eastern, that you'll find that will be more than happy to integrate into your organization as if they were FTEs and you were paying them benefits. Like, there's so much talent down there that you're not going to notice a drop off if you have the right partner and technical skills, which begins to be the other knock, right? Like, offshore, I don't get the same quality. It's not true as well. So nearshore, I don't believe that that's the case.
Yep.
And have not had that experience unless, again, I've got a partner that I don't trust. And then why would I do business with somebody I don't trust, right? That you should be vetting these entities almost more than you're vetting
Agreed.
regular employees. So
agreed. Jeff or Rhea, any thoughts on this?
I think that sounds like what can happen if you have a bad implementation or a bad partner or a bad level of talent. That certainly can happen. We have to just micromanage and check in every day. And I've experienced that for sure. Like, one of the things I've really learned in the last 5 years is you have to be quick to make decisions when things aren't going the way you want them to go. That could either mean changing the talent out or changing the shop completely, finding somebody else. Because no offense to Torque, but there's a lot of sourcers out there who are not very good. They get a warm body, they get it in the building, they get their little spiff, and they're happy. So you got to be really vigilant about that.
Yeah.
If you find yourself micromanaging, it's not working. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Correct. Yeah, agreed, Rhea.
But I also think the term micromanaging has to do with the person as well. So I like the moment you said that, I started smiling because it's almost like, for me, I am a pure believer of autonomy. It's like, if you tell me how to make a sausage or whatever, I'm not going to like that organization. I'm certainly not going to like the culture where I work and all of that, because I'm not an order taker, and nor do I think my developers are order takers.
That's awesome.
It's like, we hire them to basically solve really complex problems. I'm going to give them the clarity as the leader to tell them, this is what this problem looks like solved. How you get to that problem is up to you. So to micromanage the journey of it, I am not a prescriber to that. I'm about clarity and making sure everybody has the autonomy to course correct as they go. And so I don't believe on like nearshore, offshore, whatever. People instinctivly want to do a good job, but why they don't do a good job is because they haven't had the clarity to know what a good job looks like. So that's why I'm like, I don't know.
What? So okay, let's riff on this. How do you show what a good job looks like?
I mean, it's about, like, we've all run projects, right? We've all run projects, and we basically say, hey, I don't talk about solutions. I talk about the pain points of a customer, right? So it's like, this customer is experiencing this pain. So how do I solve it? Because I mean, most of us are technical, so we all have math backgrounds or whatever, right? There are a million ways to solve a problem. It's just, hey, what is the final solution to solve that pain going to look like? Yeah. And so I think when I manage teams or I manage like any sort of problem, it is, the first question is about customer empathy. What pain are they experiencing, and what are the potential solutions to solve it? And it is working through it. And so that's how you get clarity. If everybody just goes off and go, oh, I'm going to make agentive AI, let's just do that, and that'll solve the problem. It's not about that. It's like, it is a tool to be used to solve a problem, but it is not going to always be like the one thing that'll solve it, if that makes sense.
I love that. Ben, Jeff, any color insight to that?
I just would, and Rhea, you share that with the team, right? That they own that problem and that solution.
Oh yeah, completely. Right? I am all about
that's perfect.
Yeah, that is the culture we have.
Yeah. Now we don't have to micromanage, right? Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
No, I'm 100% in line with that. I kind of cringe at the micromanage piece. I agree as well. It's like, there are a million ways to solve problems, and the one that I want you to solve, like I heard something one time, if a team comes, and I tend to follow this, is like if a team comes with a plan and their plan's like a 7 out of 10 and my plan's like a 9 out of 10, I'm going to let them run with a 7 because it's their plan, right? They're going to own it. They're going to be the ones living it. I'm not getting woken up at 2 a.m. Like that's not my job anymore, right? Now, if they come with like a 2, yeah, I'm gonna call it a 2, and then we're gonna work to get them to a point to something they agree in. But if I've got to micromanage the entire process, something went way wrong long before that deal.
Yeah, my golf swing's a 2 for sure, 2 out of 10. So.
I don't know that I disagree with that. I may give you a 3.
Okay, I appreciate that, Ben. I appreciate that. All right. So one of the things I like to do on these panels is lessons learned in the trenches. Right. I think everybody always talks about their wins, which is great. Obviously, you all have had a tremendous amount of success managing teams across the globe, no matter what shore they're on per Ben. But I want to see like where are some mishaps? Like let's get real for a second. When's one time you've worked with an offshore nearshore team and it hasn't worked, and what's maybe one really good lesson that you've learned from that? So if anybody has an actual story they want to jump into, take it away. Otherwise, I will call a victim.
I'll touch off of Ria's point, like clarity. I think that clarity is important at any part of the software development process, but I think it's even more important when you're working geographically dispersed. And I had a group one time that, so working with healthcare data, you've got to be pretty specific about PHI and how you treat information and the security of it. And I had a group that we're taking care of social security number on the back end, but we're sharing it across the URL in the browser so that it was getting stored in history. And when that was delivered, the question was, what made you think that was okay? And the answer was, well, it wasn't in the requirement. So, clarity, I think, is very important. And I think clarity actually is not just about user story, role, goal, benefit. I think the ilities, the non-functional stuff, I think don't show up as well when you've got a big lag in time zones. And so making sure that you've got foundational ilities defined and measured. And I think that's really important when you're not even when you're working remote in general. So that's like my simple, really bad story that really wasn't that big of a deal at the end of the day. It was still in QA.
I don't know what any of that meant, but it sounded great, Ben.
It sounded good. Thank you.
Jeff, thoughts or experience stories?
Yeah, try not to keep this too specific because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah. Got to keep it.
My lessons, the hardest lessons have been when I've inherited an existing team, like an offshore team specifically, that had built a ton of critical infrastructure into the platform. And my mistake was not diving in immediately and assessing that team, what they were doing, what they had done, and trusting them or just deferring that process to later. So my sort of looking back, if I could do it again, talk to every single person on that team. Don't let somebody gatekeep you. Have them walk you through the functionality. Have them walk you through the code. Because what I did is I assumed certain sort of basic best practices, and I was completely wrong. There was no best practice anywhere of any kind. And had I done that initial investment of time to understand the team, I would have made the changes I ended up making much more quickly, which is really critical to the business, right? You just cost the business 6 months, 8 months that you could have saved if you had just gone into the hard part right away.
Yeah. I love that. That was good. That's good. Ria?
Yeah, I think my biggest mistake was basically making things go on too far. Like I said, I'm a fail fast leader. And the reason why I'm a fail fast leader is because I'm not scared of the mistakes. I revel in my mistakes. And that's the thing. It's I can hire many onshore, offshore, nearshore, whatever resources, but not knowing when the cutoff point is, when I'm this is not a fit, or the project is going off. It's knowing when to cut it off at the right time. And that's the thing that I've learned. And knowing that I've had 100% remote teams for a good 5-6 years now, it's also knowing how to evaluate team members coming. And it's I hate to say it, but it is a failure to launch plan. you hope that they're going to do well, but hope is only going to get you so far. So it's almost knowing that your team, your managers, whoever is going to be there, provide the right guardrails and the right support to onboard any resource coming in. So a failure to launch plan is absolutely critical. And that's one of the lessons I've learned. It's like, you know, immediately, so you can cut it off really quickly and then move on. Similar to projects too. You need to know when you're going off the rails, and you need to know what metric to look at that you are going wrong.
I love that, and it kind of segues into a question that I didn't write down, but I think this is great here. Is how do you evaluate an offshore nearshore vendor? How do you evaluate a resource you're bringing on? I mean, obviously you have interview steps. Are the interview steps any different? Are they the same? When it comes to onboarding, what have you seen work? This is kind of a very heavy question here. So let's just kind of navigate the first part is what does it look like when evaluating a vendor when it may come to traditional kind of one-off, two-off like Torque, when it, if you need 3 developers for this project or an entire kind of throw it over the fence type of project. What do you guys look for when you guys are talking to vendors? I'll throw a curveball. I'll get Jeff to start this one off.
Wait, no, I'm confused.
Yeah.
I have pretty strong opinions here. So first thing is we interview every single candidate ourselves, which I think is somewhat unusual. So some vendors won't do that. So if they won't do that, they're out. They're done. So the screening is very similar to what an FTE would get. Honestly,
Okay.
it's a tech screen with the team. It's then sort of a personality teammate kind of screen. Then it's a calibration with all the interviewers, and then we make a decision. And the second part of that is very much similar to what Ria said. If someone doesn't work out, you make a quick decision. Like, this isn't working. And the shop better be able to guarantee a replacement, right, as a part of the contract, right? What else I was going to say? The other thing, when you start out with a new partner, so with Torque, don't hire 5 people at once. Hire one, add them to the team, assess talent, and then you can move on. Because you don't want to make 5 mistakes at once. At least you can just make one, and then go from there. But yeah, we're really rigorous about that. And then in terms of like ongoing quality assessment, it's normal stuff. We look at the PRs, assess their output. And when the teams are really locked in, then it's like Ria says, we look at outcomes. Are they contributing to business value? We ask the teammates, how are they? It's very much like an FTE. It's not that much different, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and I think people, at least from what I've seen, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like people kind of make it different, and it's like I feel like you just got to keep it. If you got something that's working, just keep it the same.
Well, it's more work. That's why people don't do that. It's more work. It's more work to treat them like an FTE. It's much easier to, hey, give me 10 people and let them go do their stuff, and I'll hope for the best. That's easier.
Yeah, I'm not an engineering manager, but that terrifies me. Just you even saying that. So it's not a great idea. Ben, thoughts on how you evaluated vendors? How do you interview? Just any of that secret sauce?
Yeah, it depends on like what their role is. If like Jeff sounds like you're looking at like individual people, and if I've got like individual folks that I'm bringing in and integrating into the team, almost as if an FTE, it would be very, very similar to the process that I would follow when hiring like a new developer or that sort of thing, or a new QA or whatever it is the role's for. If I'm hiring more of like I need a group that can bring me teams that really act as either additional capacity or as some of my primary capacity, depending on what's going on. I'll ask for references. I'll speak to other organizations they've worked with. I've got to have a good solid point of contact wherever this group's located. I almost treat that person as the tech lead or the architect in that group, right? That there's capability to be able to, if I can't have access or not access, if I can't day-to-day relationship with each one of the people, that maybe I got 50 people or 100 people working remotely right down in a shop, I need to at least have main points of contacts that are in there. My best experiences though have always been where it wasn't, I don't want anybody that it's a throw it over the fence. And I mean that not like I'm going to give it over the fence. I don't think nothing gets thrown over the fence anywhere I work, right? Like it's always a pretty seamless experience. But I want the people that we're working with, whether they're in India, in Europe, in Latin America, they need to be a part. We need to know their names, who they are. And if the vendor's willing to work that way, then that's generally something that I'm looking for. Because I want to know the people that work onshore as well. Like they're all still people, and it's a very human process of building software.
Yeah, agreed. You got a lot of nods on that one, Ben. Good job. Rhea, thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I'm going to take a different take on that.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yes,
So
I like it.
I interview an agency based on their culture. Do they match my culture? Do they match how we evaluate people? Because look, at the end of the day, an agency is not going to give me a bunch of duds because they want recurring work. So do I trust the process that they're going to go through? Absolutely. But what I want to know is how they treat their people. Do they treat their people like some revolving staff outdoor, or are they going to invest in their people and give them like mentors? Are they going to upskill them? Are they going to give similar like resources that I give my FTEs to like make sure that they have a long career, right? Because Ben is right. It is about people. But if I'm going with an agency and if I'm looking at like reducing my costs or being like, they have to match what I'm giving my FTEs as well. So if they don't have any of similar structures,
That's great.
I don't want to work with them because they're just treating them like another body, and that's not how we run around.
I love that. That's awesome. Natalie brings up a great question that I think this is good for everyone to chime in at. Jeff was talking about laying people off. Do you gauge your onboarding process before booting them? Do you look internally, or is it more of just a transactional thing? Oh, it's on them.
I mean,
That's an awesome point. Go ahead, Rhea. Go ahead.
Sorry, like I have a failure to launch plan, and the failure to launch plan is an FTE failure to launch plan and a contractor. We basically structure it so that we give them a certain project and we see how they run. I'm not going to open up my code and just not have those guardrails immediately. So how soon can they actually put in a PR request without any help? How soon can they deliver a project? You already know the outcome of the journey that they're going to take within the first month. And if they don't hit those checkpoints, you already know, similar to an FTE. So that's why it's like, it is a very structured gauge process.
I love that. Anybody else have thoughts?
I was just going to say, yes, we do. Onboarding is definitely a factor, and we're aware that certain roles, this kind of touches upon what Ben was talking about, certain roles require a shorter onboarding process, and we would expect output sooner. Certain roles, we know for a fact, take 6 to 8 weeks to fully onboard. And we definitely reflect, like, this person didn't succeed. Was that because we didn't prep them properly, give them the proper framework to succeed? For sure. And there's always more to do. Onboarding is really important too. Like, you're costing the business money the longer that onboarding takes.
Yeah.
It takes you 6 months to onboard somebody, you're spending 6 months for nothing. One last thing, I'm jealous, Rhea, again. I've had shops that gave me duds. Like, literally, so it does happen. But yeah. But anyway, onboarding is critical.
Sometimes, right? We all get duds sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to speak. We're not 100%, but that's why you use a community-first platform like Torque, because we provide you people. Anyway, sorry, I had to play that. And all right,
well done.
Yeah, no, very good, right? Consummate salesperson. All right, so I want to go ahead and start round out the time again. Y'all your time's very valuable. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. I do want to just give kind of a last around the horn here when it comes to just advice for C-suite engineering leaders who are dipping their toes. I know we've had a lot of great advice, so I guess it's kind of a last, like if you have any more final thoughts, but just any last piece of advice for any engineering leaders, CIOs, CTOs who's dipping their feet into offshore, nearshore, and they've never done it before, called Torque. Aside from that, what else should they do? Ben, we'll go with you first.
Oh, what else should they do? I mean, I go back to, what are you trying to do and what are you trying to deliver? And what I like.
You've been pretty consistent with this the entire time.
What's your culture about? Like, there are no perfect silver bullets. I mean, like, are you trying to minimize cost? Are you trying to be available all the time? Are you trying to have constant development work going on? Like, there are so many ways to go about this. I would first and foremost look at who you are as a company. What are you trying to solve? And then if you're like, I think this keeps pointing back down the nearshore, offshore, then I would start to dive into really being, focused about how you evaluate those entities. And then I really think Rhea's spot on with the whole culture comments and bringing in folks that are going to match what your energy is. And again, they could be very transactional. If your culture is very transactional, perhaps like a very transactional, like, you definitely don't want to bring in what Rhea's describing, which I would like to work with, which is a very mentorship, growth mindset oriented partner. If you're very transactional, please do not bring one of those entities into your organization, because they need to exist for people who don't operate very transactionally.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it always comes back to, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your people? What are your tech stacks? What are your capabilities? And finding partners that match and gel. Because again, I keep going back to, it's superhuman building product.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff?
Yeah, it's similar thoughts. I mean, try to clarify as much as possible what the project is, what the role is, because that enables the provider to be successful. Like, they need clarity too, to source the proper person for you. The other thing that's really important is, do not go out and Google offshore shops. Find peers, find
Yes.
somebody in the space
Yes.
who you can get actual real feedback from, and don't ask other sourcing shops. Ask people in the industry who've done it, who've experienced it. Get that real first person feedback, because
Yeah.
it can really cost you, right? If it takes you 3 tries to find a good partner, that's critical. So don't do that. Get off
Yeah.
Google, ask peers, ask people in your network.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the one area you should not Google. Your wife's birthday
Yes.
present? Maybe. Not this. Not
100%. Yes.
not
Yes.
this. Rhea, go
Yes.
ahead. Finish it up.
I would say have a structured process on evaluation. You will have a lot of partners, but don't work with like a deep bench. What you should do is work with a set of trusted partners, but don't let them sit on their laurels. Make sure you evaluate them quarter by quarter, and make sure
Yeah.
they're hitting everything. Because what I've seen in the past is that you will work with an offshore partner. You thought they were great, and all of a sudden it starts waning, right? No, keep them on their toes. No offense, Taylor, but you know,
Right, keep us on our toes. Hey, listen, I don't have to do it. I'm not a sales guy. I'm just a mascot. So yeah, keep us on our toes. I love it.
Like honestly, it's like, you think just because the work is being done, you're gonna skip off of the like quarterly check-ins or whatever. No, these are just like employees. You need to know if they're performing, if they're dipping or whatever, and hold the like agencies accountable to that. And if I'm looking for an agency that has a cultural match to me, I want to know what kind of training have they done. Are they just saying they're doing it, or have they actually offered it? You know, I do checks on that, like periodic with my vendors. Like,
and I'm taking notes too, Rhea, so I can make sure you do it too. I love it. That's awesome. Well, y'all, thank you again for hanging out. For those of you watching today, thank you again for hanging out. Natalie, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Y'all stay on so I can say bye to you backstage. I appreciate this. We'll do another one of these with another group of engineering leaders here in the next month or two. But y'all were amazing. Thank you so much. And y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.